Welcome to WLNM's original English light novel review with your host, Zeke Changuris.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Season 2 of the rebranded WLNM OELN podcast. The rebrand is because I'm starting a second podcast after all this time called Tugawa, or Two Grown Adults Watching Anime, a general discussion about current anime and past anime, with all the fundamental underlying principles that we build up, what we love, we don't tear down. So let's keep watching this space for some fun guests and discussions in the future. But as for the OELN podcast, today we are joined by light novelist Nia Kenji, whose latest work is Kawari. Nia, welcome to the program.
Hello. Yeah, I'm Nia Kenji. It's nice to meet you. I'm new to the scene of OELNs, and my first novel is Kawari.
Okay. Tell us a little bit about Kawari. What are we getting into? Are we in for a fantasy story, a slice of life? What are you trying to give us?
As most light novels, it's an isekai.
I have no problems with those, so don't worry.
Mm-hmm. I've never been too much of a fan of isekai, but I've always felt weird about them not having a lot of slice of life elements. I love slice of life beyond everything else, so I really wanted to put the characters in the forefront in this isekai. A lot like Konosuba. It's been compared to that a lot. Still haven't read it.
Okay. So in this, are we doing full reincarnation? Are we doing transport? How does our guy or gal get there? Is Truck-kun lurking?
Unfortunately not. As much as I would love to having such an important character make a cameo in my story, I would love to have that. But licensing, I couldn't license Truck-kun, unfortunately. So we had to go another route. And we follow Fuma Hatigawa. He is a high schooler who, by this time, everything's been going wrong in his life, and he doesn't really know where to go, and he doesn't really feel a need to move forward. So he makes a promise to himself that on one day he's just gonna give it his all. He's gonna try to be the best him he could possibly be. And if even after all of the work he put in after that day, he still couldn't find fulfillment in his life, he would end his own. And the story is about following him as he tries to realize the value in life and the people in it. Because he's a very cynical character at first, but you watch him grow along with all these characters and really come to terms with who he is as a person.
Okay, so he doesn't exactly start off in the ideal headspace, though I don't think many of us would be after
That's fair.
After death, but
Mm-hmm.
he finds himself not in the ideal headspace, coming to the realization that he's been born anew in this new world. What are some of our mechanics of this world? Is it are you going for more high fantasy or gamer RPG mechanics?
As much as I hate to admit it, it is more RPG mechanics. Like, I really regret it now that I'm finished at least volume 1, because it is not a fighting story. There's like 3 fight scenes. I've never been good at fight scenes, in fact, but there's a real focus on the characters.
Okay,
which I said that before.
Yeah, I'm terrible at fight scenes. I'm not good at writing them at all. I'm very good at world building and character development, but as far as the actual fight between two characters go, that's not my thing. I read a voracious amount of these books, and some really go heavy into the game mechanics of it. I know, like Shield Hero, I think the books would be 100-page lighter if they just chopped out I don't need to know how the leveling works for each particular ability that a character gets. To me, it bogs down the story a little bit.
Yes, over-explanation is the killer of fantasy novels.
Yeah, we look for people, as they used to say, show me, don't tell me.
Mhm.
Though I'm a big fan of a little exposition, it helps now and then.
Yeah.
What did you find the most difficult part, other than like the fighting, or what should I say? What is your strong suit? What do you think your strong suit as a writer is?
My commitment when I get into a project is insane. Like Kawari, just to talk about how fleshed out the world is and how much I'm never going to talk about. There is there's an entire economic trade system. Everything is figured out between the food they eat. In fact, every single main city or more country has their own signature dish that I have cooked and will be a graphic inside the novel. And everything is made as a tourist attraction. And in fact, I'm not sure if this will make it past, but I'm working on having passport. No, what do you call these? Travel pamphlets? Yeah, travel
Okay.
pamphlets
All right.
for every single location that is tailored to them.
So kind of like kind of a more fun version of the economics lessons we get in Spice and Wolf.
I have not watched it, but I would assume.
Yeah, Spice and Wolf it's hardcore economics. It is fascinating in that fact, but if you want to understand medieval economics and trade, you could take that as an econ course. It gets really heavy into that. So your character in this does a lot of traveling then.
But there is a lot of traveling within the story. We've only visited 3 of the 9 countries, in fact, and every novel will have one dedicated to it.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So you kind of get a visit strange new worlds on a regular basis, to steal a line from Gene Roddenberry. You get to look at the way these countries are made up, and that's kind of part of the fun to me is that world building.
Most of our main cast. Oh.
Yeah, go ahead.
Most of our main cast, in fact, is one's a dictator and one's a mayor of a city. Well, the daughter of the mayor that has left. It's all about leaders and trying to understand. Just it's weird because explaining things is always hard because you never want to go too far into it.
Okay. Let's just focus on some like writing questions then. Mm-hmm. So you build up this universe and you come into great detail. What is your process at the beginning? Is it that world building, or is it like, I know where the story is going to go, and then you build that world around it?
I think with any story, you should build the characters first. I can tell the exact same story plot line, and it will be an entirely different novel if I insert different characters within it. Like, take Konosuba, for example, to bring it up again.
Okay.
If you put your standard isekai protagonist in it and their standard cast, it would be a different novel. You're doing the same motions, but the characters you insert in it make the novel. At least that's how I see it.
Well, I mean, yes, if Cosmo wasn't such likable trash, I love him. I do. I love him too. He is who he is. I mean, he is the most brutally honest character that you come across, and he does not shy away from understanding who he is as a man. And that, to me, that's one of the more attractive qualities about that character, is that he's not pretending to be anything other than whom he is.
Yeah.
And a lot of us may wish that about ourselves at times, that we would prefer not to pretend to be anything other than who we are.
One of
The
the things that I love about Kazuma is that he's never morally anywhere. He's morally gray. And I
Yeah,
think more protagonists need to fall into that. At least that's me personally.
yeah. He definitely he definitely is. I'll say he does have a sense of morals, but in the bigger picture kind of things.
Hmm.
If calling a succubus to come and give him naughty dreams, that's that's completely fine. He's a single guy. Why shouldn't he? But to but to you know uh, accidentally to let's see abase yourself in front of a uh, marauding bunch of birds so you can be beaten into ecstasy,
Okay.
darkness. um,
Yeah.
uh, he finds that entirely embarrassing, so yeah, I get it.
Yeah.
uh, but he does have his moral compass. It just may not point to the same north that we do.
Yeah.
um, do
One of
you
the
are
funniest part.
Well, are
Sorry.
you an? And so it just. But are you an outliner? Are you one of those guys who like? Have you got this whole thing outlined, or are you sit down at that blank page and you're like, okay, I have the characters, I have the situation. Let's see where this goes.
This brings me to chapter 7. Chapter 7, I wrote in one night, on the first draft, mind you, because there's like 3 drafts of Kawari. On the first draft, I was so sleepy. I didn't get any sleep that night, and I just wrote. I didn't outline at all. It was easily the most emotional scene in the novel, and it is everyone's fan favorite. I didn't even edit it. I
So
spent
those are
so
those
mad
are
about it.
those are really, to steal one from Bob Ross, happy accidents. Um, you don't you enjoy those moments when you're writing and it surprises you what you wrote, and you're like, wow, I didn't know that was going to go there, but it just naturally unfolded that way.
The way I like to see how I write, it's almost like I'm writing fan fiction. It really does feel like that. I outline things, but I want the story to end here, and I want the characters to grow to this point.
Okay.
Everything else, where they go, what happens, that could be anywhere.
I mean, I've always been a proponent of fan fiction, in that fan fiction is the same as when you receive a prompt in school from your English teacher.
Hmm.
They're just giving you the scenario, they're giving you the characters, but you're the one who's doing the creation. And so I've always found fan fiction as a great uh, developmental tool for writers.
I
It's
think
kind
it's
of,
amazing.
yeah, it's absolute. I've read some amazing fan fiction over the years. I've read some that I've read a couple times, and each time they have me blubbering like an idiot at the end because they were so good.
Yeah.
But it's a great place for people to express their ideas. I mean, I'm very much a, you shouldn't never invalidate somebody else's creativity.
That's actually why I fell in love with light novels. I didn't start wanting to be a light novelist. I actually started making music.
Okay.
And I loved the form because of the freedom it gave you. But then I read the light novel Sisters All You Need, and just seeing how much fun Yomi Hirasaka, the author of that, had fun just scrolling through the pages, making these characters, making emotional moments, laughing at them. The the passion that was behind it, and just the unfiltered nature of it. It really drew me into wanting to be a light novelist, and that's how I ended up here.
I think that's a great way to describe being able to write and create, is that you get to, you're not attempting to write what one would call the great American novel, but nobody whoever wrote the great American novel was aiming to write that at the moment. It
Yes.
became great because people enjoyed it and latched on to an idea behind it. I loved Sisters All You Need because it is a lot about how writers are. What do writers do on a regular basis? They sit around with other writers and drink.
Yeah.
They do a lot of that in that book, or procrastinate when there's a deadline and you just put it off thinking, yeah, I'll get to it. I'm just not feeling it right now. I'll get it. And then once the deadline shows up, you're like, well, I can do a couple thousand words tonight because I need to. So
Yeah, and you get locked into a room.
most of us are
Rubber
doing
room
that
with
to
Red.
ourselves. Yeah.
Yeah.
But
It's
yeah,
amazing.
yeah, it is. I love it when writers get to poke fun at, especially like novelists, they poke fun at writing or creation and the industry around it. And
Yeah.
they make, they, those of us who attempt to create or do create, we get it. We're like, yeah, I understand exactly where this writer is coming from, because I've also been there with the white page that is just staring back at me for 3 days, or that computer's sitting there with the cursor blinking. I think I'll go
Yes.
wash dishes or something
Yeah.
like that. Yeah.
I'm busy, right? I'm sure I could figure something out. I know
Exactly.
exactly the
I'll
feeling.
get inspired. I'll be inspired by this. There,
Yeah.
maybe if I read somebody else's work right now to help. No, sometimes that just doesn't work. But
The funniest moment. Oh, do you have something to say?
no, go ahead.
Okay, the funniest thing about the creation of Kawari is that the entire plan for the novel changed. Kawari was going to be an incredibly dark novel. Like, it was going to be incredibly dark with, like, not gore, but it was aiming to make you feel bad.
Okay.
And now it's wholesome, complete. It's just a fun story about a man trying to grow as a person. And what changed it was because I thought the plan was to make Fuma crush an entire town with the walls of their town.
Okay.
But I was like, no, the fantasy town's boring, I don't want just your standard fantasy town. That sounds boring. So I made a town to where it was on a mountain and it had this Eastern festival aesthetic, and all of its money came from festivals. And it was a hot spring as well that flowed through, and the steam watered the plants. And the
Okay.
fireworks that went off fertilized the flowers, making them bloom. A very intricate thing. And do you know what changed it all? How do you put walls on a mountain town? And
Yeah.
that changed everything. It's things like that make writing so much fun.
Yeah, it is. It is. I mean, it surprises you. And I've been there recently myself with one of my works, and it means retooling like 3 chapters because I came up with a much more interesting angle to take. And sometimes you got to go back and rewrite. I mean,
That's the worst.
but sometimes you get hit. I mean, what do you do when you hit the wall? When you hit that, oh crap, I've written myself into a corner. How do I get out?
I make an excuse to. Well, it's hardly making an excuse. I go on a research trip that is something like I'm writing.
Okay.
Like I just took my friends out for a weekend and we went camping and it became a chapter.
Okay.
Yeah. It's just things like that. Get out of your box. Whenever you're stuck, it's because you're stuck emotionally on something, or it's because you're just stuck physically in a place. Go out, do something you're not used to, gain an experience that will inspire you. That's what I try to do.
I think those are some very sage words that we can kind of wrap up with. So, thank you I'll be looking forward to publication. And when you get that,
Ooh.
send me the link, and
I definitely will.
I will put that out there. And to the listeners, thank you for tuning in. Please hit like, subscribe. Keep those clicks not only help my ego of this old reporter keep going,
Fair.
but the OELN community really benefits from that, because the more likes, the more shares, the more this is going to show up in someone's stream and expose these writers that we enjoy to new audiences. So until next time, keep reading.
This has been a WLNM podcast.